Hello, bring a trailer. My name is Jake, and this is a 1991 Mercedes 560 SEC that was given a decent bit of the AMG treatment back when it was new. This is not actually my car, however, I am the one selling it and getting it all taken care of through the Bring a Trailer website. This car belonged to a friend of mine named Henry. We were good buddies and roommates for a couple years, and Henry unfortunately got into a car crash a couple years ago and passed away as a result of that crash. This car was his pride and joy, and his father has asked me to help take care of moving it on to a new owner a couple years later, so here we are. So some basics, like I said, this is a 91 560 SEC that was purchased new in Illinois, and it was taken to AMG of North America in Westmont, Illinois, which is where most pre-merger AMG cars were put together when they were ordered. The interesting thing about all of these pre-merger AMGs is that for the most part none of them were actually the same, because you would go and pick out your options when you purchased the car. This car was purchased new from a dealership that still exists, actually, called Motorworks in Illinois, and it was sold new to the Chicago Bulls player Stacey King. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find any documentation to prove that. We're still looking, but it's scarce. But according to both Henry and the second owner, Stacey King was the first. So this car was purchased new at Motorworks and sent off to Westmont, and it received a decent bit of AMG work. They offered quite a bit of options, but this one did not receive any drivetrain options. So this has the body kit, it has all of the chrome delete with the paint matching, has the 560 SEC badge deleted and replaced by just this AMG badge here. It also has the AMG headers. There were both US and European headers. These are US headers with cats. And then it has the AMG Custom Exhaust, which is, so I've heard, becoming more and more rare. I don't know if you can see the AMG tips here. Not really. There we go. So these are apparently becoming more and more rare as some of them tend to rust out. The nice thing is this car only has 30,000 miles. That's not a typo or a misspeak. It's 30,300 give or take right now. So like I said, body kit, some chrome delete, headers, exhaust. It has the Aero 1 wheels. They're 17-inch wheels. We have brand new tires put on these, some Michelin Pilot Sport AS3s. One of the wheels was bent, and we recently had it corrected as part of a big service that was taken care of. You can see these tires are literally brand new with maybe 100 miles on them so far. The other thing that this particular AMG received was the AMG Suspension. So what that was in this case was a set of Bilstein shocks that got revalved by AMG and some AMG springs, which I have heard are really just the stock springs cut down and spray painted white, but regardless, they are the AMG springs. The original suspension is getting a little tired on this car, just from the age, not the mileage. Henry had purchased a new suspension to go on it, but never installed it, and at this point we have elected to leave it off the car. It will come with the car, and that's a new set of H&R springs for the Mercedes 126, as well as some Coney Special D red shocks that are also built and valved for the 126. The current suspension on it is all the AMG engraved Bilsteins. You'll see those in the photos in the auction listing. And then the rear springs are the white AMG springs. The front springs are black, and I'm not sure what those are. Apparently they might have been replaced, according to the dealership tech that looked at the car, just because they tend to get kind of old and tired over time. So, opening the driver's door into the interior here, you'll see it is the standard 560 SEC interior of the day. As this is a 1991 model, it's the final year of these cars. There is no glove compartment because that got replaced by the passenger side airbag. So you have dual front airbags here. Gray interior, presents very well. Everything is in very good shape. The seats are incredibly soft. Henry was a big detailer and took more time perhaps detailing this car than actually driving it. That being said, he did put about 7,000 miles on it since his purchase in 2012. Everything on this car does work from what I can tell. You've got your memory seats and power seats right here. You've got your headlight switch and parking brake release. The headlights were replaced with the European units with glass lenses, and they were wired to run city lights with the parking lights turned on. So you can run the city lights and optionally the fog lights and get kind of a neat look going on there. Looking further around here at the center stack, you've got your typical controls. Automatic climate control with functional air conditioning. It was pretty warm out today with the picture taking, and we did test that out. It works really well. Moving down, this is a Pioneer head unit with Bluetooth support. Henry put that in. We do have an original Becker unit that will come with the car, and then we also have a whole Sony system, which I will mention later, that will come with the car as well. The ashtray and everything looks really nice. The car's never been smoked in. It's nice and clean. Heated seats both work, and the high and low horn also works. That was repaired recently as part of the service. You do have these two lights and little speaker doodads here. The car received a K-band radar detector install as part of the new options when it was delivered. They do work and make some beeps and boops. That is mostly due to blind spot monitors of other cars at this point because it is only K-band. Moving down here, standard shifter. The car did get a new shifter bushing when it was in for service. The old one had, I guess, disintegrated. So shifter feels nice and tight. All this wood is in very nice shape, with very little wear shown, if any, really. You've got your window controls, your passenger side mirror adjustment. The driver's side is manual on the driver's door. Then moving further back, this is the other AMG accessory that we have here. It was an AMG Burl wood console box. So kind of a nice touch, a little different from the standard one with the roller blind. This top part opens up. You'll see some of my car keys. This guy with the wire is a part of the original Sony sound system, and this is a controller for the Sony XES audio system. So it's been wired in. I've elected to leave it right where it is for the sake of not messing anything up. Looking above where the driver and passenger will sit, up front you've got your standard sun visors. You've also got this neat little center sun visor, just in case the sun happens to be right where you don't want it. These are your controls for your overhead dome light and sunroof. That all works. This guy here is to remind you airplane style to put on your seatbelts. Sunroof works very well, no leaks, no issues or noises. The one thing you'll notice is the headliner is starting to come down, especially as you look towards the back of the car. This is pretty common to the 126 coupes. We would have had it fixed, but the issue is I'm not willing to leave this car right now with anyone I don't know, and I don't know a good upholstery or headliner shop in the area to where I'd trust leaving it, out of my sight for the better part of a day. So we elected to leave the headliner as it is. That being said, I'm sure that can be taken care of fairly easily by the next owner. Rear seats, just like the fronts, in very nice shape. No issues to speak of here. This also has the burl wood in the center. There's a storage console here. You also have an armrest that folds down that's in nice shape. And then, of course, because everyone smoked in the 80s, you have yet another ashtray and cigarette lighter back here. And moving on to under the hood here, you'll see we've got the dual tone horns, like I mentioned, that were repaired as part of the service. Something had gone wrong and only the high tone worked, so it sounded a bit like a smart car. So those got fixed, and the dash switch works. Everything under here is either Mercedes OEM or equivalent. It hasn't really needed a whole lot of work from what I recall, just kind of typical maintenance. You'll notice this big inline fuse and thick red battery cable. That's part of the sound system that was added to the car. It's the only probably non-stock looking thing under the hood. We also have a newer Duralast battery. I was unable to get a Mercedes battery just given time constraints, but this is an AGM battery, and it's only about a month old at this point. The car did receive a coolant flush as part of the recent service. I suspect the coolant that was in it was pretty old. They tested it and said that it was unable to perform to the correct standards, so that got a flush while they were in there. Everything else has been maintained as necessary. The brakes were done by Henry maybe 3 years ago, so I got fresh brake fluid at that point when he put everything back together. Just a couple other shots here of things up front. You'll notice the under hood padding is in very good shape. Everything is staying where it belongs, not hanging down or looking gross at all. Both latches for the hood work very well. One item to note, the car did get swiped just a little bit in a parking lot several years ago, and it was never quite fixed paint-wise. You'll see this little spot here. I'm not sure what was done to cover that up. It looks to me kind of like Sharpie, but that's something that'll need to be touched up if you want it to be totally perfect. That being said, from more than maybe 5-6 feet away, you wouldn't even notice it. So that's up to the discretion of the new owner. Henry did, like I said, detail this car quite often. He kept everything nice and clean. You'll see even the inside of the fuel door is nice and clean. All the labels on the car, as far as Mercedes factory stickers, are still in good shape. All right, moving on to the trunk. You'll notice this gigantic Sony logo. Like I said earlier, this car, when it was new, was sent off to AMG, and then when Stacey King got it back, it was sent off to have a bigger and better sound system fitted to it. So it came with the standard Mercedes-Benz premium audio of the era, but then it was sent off to have what was regarded to be a very impressive sound system of the day. Remember, this was 1991. It had a Sony XES audio system, which was very popular. It won a lot of awards for various audio competitions at the time for car audio. It was fairly expensive when it was new. Most of the system is still in the car. The rest of it, I think I have all the pieces for, and they will come with the car. You'll notice there's a couple holes. This is a kind of a faux trunk floor and walls that were created after the system was installed. There's this cutout for something that is not currently installed. And then moving over here, this is yet another cutout for something that's not currently installed. But we'll peel back the trunk floor and show you what is currently installed. Like I said, everything does work right now with that Pioneer head unit. But from what I knew when Henry and I were living together, all of the wiring was in place in the car to return this back to full XES glory. Okay, so with the trunk floor removed, you'll see you've got 3 amplifiers here. You've got 2 Sony M1 amplifiers, and then a Sony M3 amplifier. And those power both the car speakers as well as the subwoofers that are behind this big Sony panel. They're in just kind of a homemade looking box that I'm sure the audio shop put together at the time. On the floor you have a crossover. I don't know what brand this is, but it doesn't have anything hooked up to it. There is also another crossover right here. It's a Sony X1 crossover, and that does have everything running through it at this point. Like I said, if you pull down this rear Sony panel, you'll see the subwoofer box. It's nothing super fancy. Like I said, just a wood box, but the subwoofers are in there. I do not know what was supposed to go back here, but there is a hole for something that I'm sure was impressive back in 1991. I do have the original Sony XES head unit, as well as the AM/FM receiver, and a Sony 10-disc changer that was meant to all interface with all of this. And that all works together with these amplifiers and the speakers and a Sony XES kind of head unit receiver sort of deal that I also have for the car. The other option that was an AMG accessory when this car was new is this paint-matched AMG spoiler with third brake light. As you can see, the paint in certain spots is kind of not in the best shape, but I think a quick respray would get it looking back to new again. This did come on the car when it was new and ordered from AMG, but the second owner didn't really like the look, so he had it pulled off and had the holes in the trunk lid filled and the trunk lid resprayed. This is the proper 199 paint code, so you could just throw it on if you don't care about the little nicks, or you could have it resprayed and all would be well either way. The wiring for the third brake light is here, so you just wire that right up to the car. As I said before, all the random labels that are on the car look to be in very good shape. These are some that are on the top part of the trunk, just reminding you to check your tire pressures if you load the trunk up pretty heavily or have a lot of people in the car. There's one other paint scuff as you look down. This is right below the license plate. There's just this little scuff right here, maybe an inch long, right on the top of the rear bumper. And we'll go ahead and give this a start here. One fun thing to note, these cars did come with seatbelt extenders that would present the seatbelt to you when you had the car running and shut the door. This will work as you buckle up. As you notice, buckled up, car's running, and the seatbelt extender has retracted. Moving back to the gauge cluster, you can see everything's running nicely, idling smoothly, 30,289 miles. Currently have 3 oil pressures. Like I said, the gauge does move around. It does lower itself at idle sometimes, but I really have no idea how accurate that is. The only light that's currently on is for the parking brake. If I pull that off, then we're clear. You'll see everything here is running nicely. I've got the air conditioning going. The Pioneer radio, this is no service because my phone is not connected to it right now. We've got the high and low horn. Back to the gauge cluster here, you'll notice all the amber in the needles is still in pretty nice shape. Apparently those like to fade as things get older and more exposed to the elements. This one could still pass for new from what I've seen compared to some other 126 generation of S-Class cars. If you turn the headlights on, all the backlighting works. It's kind of hard to see because it's still nice and bright out, but if you get up close, you can see all that nice amber coming into the picture, and the temperature gauge matches as well. And just a little bit of a test drive here. These cars do start off in second gear. They've got a ton of torque. That's how Mercedes programmed them. If you hit the kickdown switch from a start, it will drop down to first and really take off a little bit more. Like I said, this is the stock 5.5 liter V8 and automatic and standard 560 rear end. It cruises very nicely, either around town or on the highway. You'll notice these windshield wipers, a bit goofy in how they operate, but they work well. I got fresh wiper blades on as part of that service. Like I said, these are the original AMG stamped and revalved Bilstein shocks. The car does ride really nicely. The road I'm on here is not great, but not bad. It's kind of in the middle. And this car is just very comfortable, even compared to a lot of new cars. And that is this 1991 Mercedes 560 SEC AMG. Thank you for taking a look. I and everyone else who's been close to Henry, especially in these last couple years, really appreciates it. We're very excited to see this car go to a new home of someone else who will really know what the pre-merger cars were and really appreciate it and take good care of it. Please do leave any comments or questions for me in the section at the very bottom of the auction, and I will do my best to get back to everybody as soon as possible. I've learned quite a bit about the cars. I know there's probably a lot I don't know, but I'm happy to share any knowledge that I might have missed between the auction and this video. Thank you very much, and happy bidding.